this morning, smiled with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitched by my doorstep.
All right. Welcome, everyone. So glad you're here. Welcome to another round of Character Strong Virtual Assemblies. We are talking about selflessness today, and we got an incredible lineup to share with you this morning. As you're coming in here, the chat box is private, but myself and the other people from the Character Strong team can see what you're saying. So I would love, as you're showing up, please let us know who you are, where you're coming from, who you're excited to watch today. I don't know if you've seen the lineup of who all is here today, but please drop into the chat what's happening today. We got Kat coming in from Flagstaff, always here showing up. Flagstaff's always in the building. I love you all so much. We got Portsmouth, New Hampshire here. I'm from Maine originally. It's so fun. Pendleton, Oregon. We got Missouri in the building. Coming in from Katy, Texas. Oh my gosh, Kelowna, CC, my Canadian friends are in the building. TASC is here, Lake Caps, Washington, Forks, Washington, San Diego, California. Hi from Seattle. What's up, Dia? Glad you're here. Welcome, Michael. Good morning. I'm gonna turn down the music. Just wanted to welcome you all with a little bit of 3 little birds this morning. So grateful that y'all showed up. Today is an unbelievable lineup, an unreal group of humans that I'm so thrilled to share with you. We got Raven here from Coopville, Washington. I haven't seen you in forever, Raven. That's so fun. We got people coming in from student council groups, from leadership groups. Please share this link with your friends. Anyone is welcome. These things are free and they're for fun. A couple of things as we get started, if we haven't had a chance to meet yet. My name is Houston. I'm the co-founder of Character Strong. And for the past 5 or 6 weeks now, we've been doing these virtual assemblies every Friday. I used to speak in schools for a long time, spoken in a bunch of schools all over the country, and know that right now during this time, what a critical need it is to stay connected, to stay motivated, to stay hopeful, and to keep a focus on the things that matter most. One of the things that we know about connection or empathy or kindness, or even something like selflessness, as anxiety increases in the world, as fear increases in the world, those are the main things that prevent us from showing up for each other. When I get worried about what's going on in my life, I have a really hard time giving to you, whether that's our time, our energy. And that's how we're talking about selflessness today. Selflessness is a choice to sacrifice of your time, of your comfort, of your energy, of your money, of your resources to give to others. It's our capacity to show up and not live a life that is just about us, but live a life that is about all of us. It's about existing in community and recognizing that we cannot do this thing alone. So what does it mean to give? What do I have to give? And people here today, the musicians, the speakers, are going to share a lot of perspectives on exactly what that means and why it is so important and perhaps even more relevant than ever. I've been thinking about selflessness in my own life. And I remember one of the most poignant examples for me, fun fact, many years ago, I went down, I actually live in Los Angeles now, but when I was 19 years old, I lived in LA for a summer because I wanted to be an actor. That was my dream. I did theater in high school, so I wanted to be an actor. So I came to LA and I got a job working on a set with Lindsay Lohan. And I wanted to be famous, just like her, right? My name in lights, I would call it keeping up with the Kardashians. That was my dream at the time. Famous just like Lindsay in some of the ways. And it wasn't too long after showing up and starting to work on that movie that I realized that like fame was not all that it was sort of cracked up to be. I was up at like 5 a.m. These days were incredibly long. People on set persistently did not seem happy or content. And oftentimes I came home feeling incredibly drained. And one day I remember we were shooting outside of this apartment complex in Burbank, in the Valley of California. And I was chatting with one of the extras when all of a sudden this bus pulled up, and off the bus hopped a little boy and his mom, boy's about 4 years old. The mom had a grocery bag in each hand, and the boy had like four on each arm. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but like that super deep desire not to go back for a second trip. I feel like when we're little kids, we like pretend like we're superheroes, like we can carry more grocery bags than is humanly possible. I feel like that's when I feel the strongest, not at the gym, but when I'm carrying groceries and I don't want to make a second trip. Anyways, the kid has all these groceries on his arm, the mom, one bag in each hand, and they walk into the apartment complex. And their home has been overrun by these thousands of dollars of equipment, these lights and these cameras and these people everywhere. And all they want to do is go home and unload their Cheerios. So they walk in, and I notice that the window behind me, the light turns on. They're on the first floor of this apartment, and kind of through the window, I see them walk into their kitchen and they start to unload their things. Campbell's soup, chicken of the sea, bag of carrot sticks, gallon of milk, and one by one, they start putting the things away. And the mom sets the gallon of milk on top of this counter, and she's going to grab it to, I think, put it back in the fridge. And the kid on the far side of the kitchen goes, "No, let me do it." And he starts running across the linoleum. He's like 4 years old. He's wearing socks, so he's kind of like skidding out on the linoleum. He gets to the counter. He reaches up. He can't reach the milk. And so he like pulls out the bottom drawer. He steps on that. He lifts himself up. You can tell he's done this before. I'm sure like that's where all like the cookies and the treats are. So he knows how to get up on this counter. He gets up, he grabs the milk, he reverses the whole process to get back down. And he starts running across the kitchen again towards the fridge. But the gallon of milk is so heavy in his hand that it weighs like the entire right side of his body down. But he's still hustling. He gets to the fridge. He opens the door. He puts the milk away. He shuts the door and he puts his hands up and he takes like a victory lap around the counter. And I have two thoughts. The first one is I've been watching this for far too long. It's gotten to be creepy. And so I start to turn my eyes away. But my second thought is I've never seen someone so excited to help. I didn't get it, right? Finally, I peel my eyes away from this window, which is good at this point. I've been stalking at this point far too long. And I look around and I realize that these like grips are carrying these boxes and they seem upset. The set medic is on his phone checking for new notifications. There are none. The director's walking around like yelling at people. Lindsay and all her friends are sitting side by side on their phones, not even looking at each other. And I was like, this is like, I wanted to come to be a part of movies because I thought they were like magic, like this creation process. And here we are like living this thing that's so many people's dreams, and yet no one looks happy. It occurred to me that sometimes, maybe somewhere along the way, even for you, we get so caught up in what we're doing that we forget about how and why we're doing it. We forget that even in very, very small moments, we can find joy in service. There's a lot of joy to be found in carrying a gallon of milk. I don't think fame is always about flashing lights and limousines. I think there are some people who are famous, perhaps only to you and I. Famous in the significant impact that they've had on our lives. They're famous in our memories, the people who have made us feel loved or unloved, the people who taught us profound or silly or meaningful things. They have a starring role in helping us become us. It's almost a decade later now, maybe longer. And that kid is still famous to me. I don't even know his name. I think about him often, about the thrill and excitement and joy that he had to serve his mom, about his mostly toothless smile and his sagging arm weighed down by a gallon of 1%. And whenever I feel frustrated or bored, angry, I try to remember that moment. I try to remember that when we help others, we usually help ourselves. When we serve others, we are usually rewarded 10 times over. I'm reminded that if I simply ask the question, how can I help today? I will never be bored because there's 7.8 billion opportunities every single day to help. It's a lot of years later now, and I'm not really an actor. I started speaking and working in schools, but I realized that I still want to be famous. But I want my fame, my life to be measured in the number of people I help, the number of gallons I carry. Find ways to help someone today. Find someone that you can show simple, practical love to today. Serve someone today. You never know in whose heart you'll become famous. The first speaker I want to share with you today is one of my dear friends. He's someone who I admire deeply for his weird and wonderful brain. We met many years ago in North Dakota, speaking at a conference together. And Kyle Sheely, when he tells stories, I am always laughing, I'm always smiling, and I'm always questioning, how did he put those things together in his brain? The first person I'm excited to share with you is Kyle Sheely.
I recently had this startling realization about Oreo cookies, and it was that Oreo cookies are actually a test. Now, we've all known that Oreo cookies are a test of willpower, right? When you open it, the test is, can I eat one or two of these, or will I eat this entire sleeve? And for me, it's always the entire sleeve. But the realization that I just recently came to was that Oreo cookies are also a test of sanity, because only a crazy person would eat an Oreo cookie the way that an Oreo cookie is packaged, right? Only a crazy, insane psychopath would take that cookie out and just go, yeah, I think I should eat it just like this, and just all the way through, wafer, icing, wafer, whatever. That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to take it apart. Some people, lick it from there. Some people dunk it in milk. That depends on what your culture is, I guess. But only a psychopath would eat it the way that it's packaged. And that's a test. And tests are important in life. I know that a lot of us don't like tests. A lot of us hate taking tests. But a test is a really good tool because it shows you exactly where you are at. If you watch somebody eat an Oreo cookie the way that it comes in the package, you know right away that person cannot be trusted. In fact, that's why I always recommend first date you ever go on with somebody, bring an Oreo cookie. You'll figure out real quickly, should you invest any time into this relationship? Tests are helpful because they show you where you're at in life. It's easy to sit in a classroom and fake it. It's easy to play the part of a student and look like you're taking in information, but a test will show you real quick how much of this information actually stuck, how much of this information was actually processed and retained, and how much of that was just you faking it. And a lot of life is like a test, especially the hard parts of life. See, the hard parts of life reveal to us exactly where we are. They reveal exactly how much we've actually learned on this journey and how much we were faking. It's easy to look like a great person when everything's going well, but a crisis is always going to reveal your character. A crisis will always reveal your character because a crisis will show where do you fall in this spectrum. And right now, we are in the middle of a crisis. With COVID-19, with coronavirus, with the national shutdown, unemployment's at an all-time high. Our friends and family aren't able to be with us. We can't find toilet paper anywhere in the world. There are so many things going on right now that just scream crisis. And that really should be screaming test. This is a test for us. Right now, it's a test of our resilience. It's a test of our patience, it's a test of our resolve, but it's also a test of where do you fall on the spectrum of selfishness to selflessness. All of us fall somewhere on that spectrum, from purely selfish to purely selfless, and a crisis like this reveals it real quick. Because you have to start asking yourself, how have I been handling this? Am I mostly concerned with how this has inconvenienced me? Am I mostly concerned with my own needs during this time? Have I mostly been complaining about all the ways that this has made my life hard? Or am I thinking about the people in my life who are worse off than I am? Am I thinking about friends and family members who might be immunocompromised? Am I thinking about people who I know have lost their job and probably don't have savings? Am I thinking about the people in my life who are at highest risk of this virus? Or am I just looking out for myself? I watched this video once where this comedian named Chris McCausland was telling this story, and Chris McCausland is blind. He can't see anything at all. And he was telling a story about a neighbor who had moved in, and Chris lives on the second floor, and the neighbor had moved in below him. And for like 2 months, Chris thought that this neighbor was a jerk. Because every day he would go outside, when he heard the guy come in, he would hear the guy's car door shut, and he would walk out onto his balcony and he would say, "Hey, how's it going?" And the guy never answered him one time, just blew him off, walked into his own house. And it wasn't until months later that Chris realized that the neighbor was deaf. So every day, a blind man is yelling out hello to a man who can't hear him. And every day that man would wave at Chris and Chris would not see it. And so both of them went through their lives thinking that the other person was a jerk. And it took them months to figure out what was going on, and they had a great laugh about it, and it's a really, really funny story. But they were only able to understand what was happening when they recognized, oh, I'm looking at this through my own limitation. And when they started asking instead, how is this other person experiencing the situation? For years, I've told this story on stage about how I grew up and I felt like I didn't have any friends. I went to this tiny little private school. I didn't fit in there. I was always bouncing off the walls. I was the kid that got kicked out of class because I was talking too much and I needed a lot of attention. And I never really felt like I fit in there. I never really felt like I had any friends. And in kindergarten and first and second and third grade, I contemplated killing myself because I thought I don't fit into this world and it seems like everyone else would be happier if I wasn't here anymore. And what saved my life was in fourth grade when this new kid showed up. His name was Zach. Actually, his name is still Zach. He never changed it. And Zach changed my life. He became my best friend and everything changed. And every time I tell that story, I get messages from people saying, Kyle, I'm in that position. I'm 15, 16, 17. I'm at a new school, or I've been at this school for a while, but I don't have anybody. I don't have any friends. How do I find my Zach? And for the longest time, I didn't know how to answer that question because my Zach found me. I don't know how to answer that question. But what I realized over time was that sometimes the best thing that we can do is to put our own needs on the back burner, because those things are out of our control. I can't control when a friend is going to come into my life, but I can control when I can go be a friend in someone else's life. And so sometimes the best thing that we can do is look for opportunities to go meet the needs of people who are in a situation like ours. When you know how hard it is to be lonely, you should go look for other people who are lonely and try to make them less lonely. You shouldn't look to find your Zach. You should look to be a Zach for someone else. And so many times what happens when you stop looking out for yourself and you start looking out for the needs of others is that you ultimately find that your needs get met too. It's a very roundabout, illogical, nonsensical way of solving a problem, but it makes just as much sense as eating an Oreo cookie, not the way that it's packaged. We are in a test right now. This crisis is a test, and some of us have been passing it and some of us have been failing it. But the good news is the test isn't over. We haven't reached the moment yet where the teacher says, okay, everybody put your pencils down. And so there's still time to change it. So if you've been in a situation where you've only been thinking about yourself and you've only been thinking about how hard this is for you, I would encourage you to take a step back and think about, how can I help someone else during the situation? How can I make this less about me and more about my community? And I think you'd be surprised at how much better that will make your life too. Thanks.
I love my friend Kyle, and the art behind him is representative of the complexity and wonderfulness of his brain. I love the message that right now we are in a test. And the thing in life is kind of a test. Like, we're always being tested in these small moments. And what's interesting about life is that it's not a pass-fail situation. It's not really like a graded situation. It's like this really long, weird, abstract scale. And you can look at a lot of things through this lens, but let's look at selflessness today through that lens. Where do we fall on the spectrum? The choices that we're making today don't have to be the choices that we make tomorrow. What I love about what Kyle shared is this idea that every single day we have the opportunity to pursue selflessness, even though it is illogical and nonsensical, which is to say that in giving of ourselves to others, we ultimately find purpose. He reminds us through the story of Zach that sometimes our most painful moments can actually provide our most profound purpose. When I know what it feels like to be lonely, I can show up with even more intention and compassion and empathy to prevent others from feeling lonely themselves, to not wait on my Zach, but to show up and be a Zach. If I need a friend, to be a friend. The second guest we have this morning is an incredible musician who lives just on the road from me here in California. Her name is Layla, and she's sharing this morning on what it means to live selflessly, which requires vulnerability.
Hi guys, my name is Layla Perry. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I wanted to share with you a song that I wrote called Castle. And the reason why is because I feel like sometimes we try so hard to be great, to be selfless, to be kind, and those are all admirable and amazing things, but before we can do them, I think we need to open our hearts. And I think it's so easy to feel like somebody or something in life is unfair or something hurts you, and because we hold on to that pain, we end up justifying being selfish. It's so easy to try to protect yourself. And it's so understandable to try to protect yourself, but I think that if we can open our hearts and let go of the pain and the uncertainty, that will make room for the beauty of grace and selflessness and kindness and joy. And so I wrote the song to remind myself the importance of having an open heart. I just realized there wasn't my own heart to protect my heart. Now I'm all alone, stuck on the inside. My heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. So scared that I'd unravel, brick by brick. I built these walls, now I know that I am strong. Just watch me tear them down. Gonna tear them down. They couldn't break your heart. Is it really love? They can't tear you apart. Is it really love? Just watch me march this battle. Gonna tear down this castle. Gonna tear down this castle. I criticize myself for trusting lies. I know I can't hide. Pretend to be alone, stuck on the inside. My heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. I'm so scared that I'd unravel, brick by brick. I built these walls, now I know that I'm enough. Just watch me tear them down. Gonna tear them down. They couldn't break your heart. Is it really love? They can't tear you apart. Is it really love? Just watch me march this battle. Gonna tear down this castle. Gonna tear down this castle. Okay. Much love and happy day.
Layla, singing to my soul. She sang that song live a few months ago, and I thought it was just the perfect song to continue to sort of set the stage for today's conversation, which is selflessness is underratedly hard because of the level of risk I think it requires to care. I feel like a lot of times, especially like working in high schools, the older we get in general, the more we start to convince each other that it is cool not to care. And my argument is that it's not that it's cool not to care, it's just that it's really scary to care. Because when I care, the more that I care about something, the more that I risk being judged for it, rejected for it, failing at it. So the higher the care I have for something, the more I risk for caring for that thing, which is why it is easier to live apathetically. It is easier to live selfishly than it is to live selflessly. Layla has so many beautiful lyrics in that song. She says, a heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. But as she sets up the song, she recognizes, right? She validates the fact that it makes total sense that we'd want to protect our heart. We'd want to protect ourselves from the pain of rejection or judgment or laughter or embarrassment. One of my favorite quotes goes like this: "What if it doesn't work out? Ah, but what if it does?" Right? We can spend our whole life worrying about what if it doesn't work out? What if helping this person doesn't matter? What if it doesn't make a difference? What if I get rejected? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? Ah, but what about the far side? What if I'm a Zach to someone else? What if along the process I find my Zach? What if in just that simple moment of selflessness, even though it took great courage or great risk, I did something profoundly meaningful for someone else? Some of my favorite lyrics, she talks about how if it's not able to tear you apart, is it really love? Which can seem a little dramatic and maybe like a misconceived notion of love, but I really think it's true, because to truly give love, whether that's romantically or in our friendships or in our family, to truly give love, it requires this openness. It requires us to expose ourselves, right? The more that we are willing to open our hearts to give, the more we expose ourselves to pain. So to live a life of selflessness is to live a life vulnerable to hurt. That's the risk. It's the reason why most people don't do it. And it's the reason why we need to work brick by brick to tear down the walls to give better. I'm so excited to introduce this next person. Brad Montague is a creative brain and heart that I've admired for many, many years. Maybe some of you know him through his work. He created Kid President, and alongside Kid President, his name's Robbie, Brad and him traveled the world. They've had art in the Guggenheim. They've hung out with Beyonce and the Obamas. They have made an incredible impact on the hearts and minds of so many. And I just got to interview Brad the other night for his new book called Becoming Better Grown-Ups. He went on a listening tour instead of a speaking tour to try to understand what people need, whether that's from children or from people over the age of 100. What does it mean to live a meaningful, selfless life? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to introduce Brad Montague.
Hello. Hi, my name is Brad. Thanks for watching this. I don't know where you're watching this or how, but I'm glad you are. I am excited to be part of this because I love what Houston and all of these amazing people are sharing and what they're about. I hope that wherever you are right now, that in the midst of all of this chaos, that there's some things that are being said that are helpful and that bring you to a place that's hopeful. I am really inspired by young people. So inspired that when I found myself at a point in life where I didn't know what to do next, I just started listening to kids. I went to visit elementary schools. I was normally doing readings and reading stories and doing drawings. And then I stopped sharing what I had to say and just started asking them, like, how can I be a better grown-up? What would it look like for me to grow up well, for you to be? What kind of grown-up do you want to be? And they started to tell me lots of things about the people in their lives that they loved, the people in their lives that were amazing, that were good guides and friends. And it taught me a lot about what it might mean and look like to grow up. I know we live in a world right now where there's a lot of stuff that's changing and a lot that's different than we ever imagined or hoped or wanted it to be. But there's a couple of things that haven't changed and I believe won't ever change. This is one of them. I thought that to be an amazing human, to have an amazing life, it meant I had to do big stuff. But when I asked kids about people in their lives that were changing their lives, they didn't tell me about like people who were breaking world records or people that were on the covers of magazines or wherever. They told me about an adult who showed up, a big brother who looked at them and helped them through something. They told me about people that were present. I think that we have this idea that spectacular, fantastic, like that's the way to go. And that maybe the most fantastic thing you can do is show up and be who you are. There's an anthropologist, her name was Margaret Mead, And one of the things that happened is somebody asked her, what is the first sign that a civilization is growing, that it exists? And here's what she said. She said, the first sign of civilization in a culture, she said, it's not, like a hook or tools or these sorts of things that we might think. She said, a broken femur that has healed is evidence that someone has taken time to stay with the one who fell, has bound up the wound, has carried that person to safety, and has tended the person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is how civilization starts. It's a broken femur that's been healed. That's the beginning of civilization. That's where it starts. Healing. I didn't just ask kids, I also asked elderly people. I spent time with people over the age of 100, and I asked them, okay, how do you do it? How do you not die? And how do you live well? And I got some really interesting responses, but a common thread in all of them was this. There's a 103-year-old woman named Frances Hesselbein. She was CEO of the Girl Scouts for several years. And the biggest thing she said that's kept her moving and going is she wakes up every morning and says, to serve is to live. That's it. She just wakes up and thinks about, who can I serve? Who can I take care of? And that's led her on so many adventures, down so many paths, and it's kept her alive and awake and dreaming and moving. Who can you serve? There was an astronaut who told me a really cool story too, and I hope it can help you. Because I was thinking about the future and how dark things can look and how big the challenges seem. And he told me this story that's about the future. He said that if an asteroid was headed towards Earth and about to destroy all of life here, we wouldn't have to send a team of space heroes to blow it up and make it explode. No. All it would take is they'd send a little bitty spaceship no bigger than a small car, and it would go close to the asteroid, and it wouldn't make it explode, it wouldn't blow it up, it would just give it a little nudge. Just that the force no stronger than a feather, and it would change the trajectory of that asteroid forever, saving everybody here. Just a little nudge. A little nudge can make a big difference. It changes the future. So for you, for me, what if your life was one in which at the end of every day you laid your head on your pillow and you knew you made a tiny nudge towards something beautiful? You helped someone else in a small way, but over time, that builds up to a masterpiece of a life. One old man told me to live well is to love well. I think that's it. So, that's what I'm going to try to do. I know that's what you're already doing. Let's help each other heal. Heal and help others heal. Grow, help others grow. Live and help others live. It's the secret to a good life.
Brad. What a guy Brad is. That story, when we were chatting back and forth about the femur, I said, I want to get a tattoo of a broken but healed femur over the top of my real femur, because I think it's such a simple but poignant reminder of what it means to live in community. Community, a sign of civilization, is our willingness to stop and heal, even when it is inconvenient to us. Selflessness is not in our natural programming. Selflessness goes against everything primal, which is to protect me, to protect my interests, to protect my safety, to protect my tribe. Selflessness is the choice to go against our natural fears, to heal others along the way. That vulnerability, that risk, that courage is not natural. It is something we must choose, and we can build up over time like a muscle until it is stronger than our fear. Is our courage to serve bigger than our desire or our instinct to be selfish. My friend Scott Bakovich, he's been speaking in schools, I believe, since he's like 4 years old. He's been speaking forever. One of the very first speeches I ever gave, he was there for. And from the very beginning, he was willing to help. I remember tweeting at him before one of my first big gigs, and he responded to me, he coached me, put me in touch with a website guy. He's been helping me along the way ever since I first started speaking, and has done it totally selflessly. One of my speaking heroes and mentors, he created the Involved Schools program. His brain thinks so strategically to make sure everyone in a community feels like they matter and everyone can be engaged, involved, and safe. This is Scott Bakovich talking about what you can give.
Hey y'all, I am literally coming to you right now from my living room, which I feel like where we've all been lately. This is where I've been watching way too much Netflix. It's where we've been doing family meals. It's where we've been playing games. Like, this is kind of the space where everything has been happening, and I'm sure it's the same for you. It's interesting, all the amount of time that we've had lately, for me at least, has led to a lot of reflection. And a few nights ago, I was actually reflecting on a moment that sticks out to me as being really profound for my growth as a leader and as a person. It wasn't at any sort of formal event or gathering. I was actually out running errands. We have a Staples right down the street. And a few years ago, I was running to get a few supplies so that I could run a workshop the following day. I grabbed supplies. I was quickly headed out the door to get in my car and go to my next spot. And as I left, there was a man in the parking lot who stopped me and asked for some spare change. I looked in my wallet. I had, I think, $2 bills. I handed it to him and I said, quote, "I wish I had more to give you. Here you go." Before I could do or say anything else, before I could get in my car, before I could continue my busyness, he stopped me. And he said something that I'll truly never forget. He said, quote, "I need you to understand, it's not what you give that matters. It's that you give. It's not what you give, it's that you give." And that moment stopped me dead in my tracks. I think forever I had looked at service, I had looked at this idea of selflessness as the monetary value that I could give. What it was worth that I was giving. That if I could just pile up enough, or if I could just spend enough, or if I could save enough, that would be giving. But again, he reminded me that it's not what I gave, but that I gave that mattered. It was a perspective switch for me, because I think, especially right now, I think the world is in great need of a lot of things. We hear stories about hospitals in need of masks. We hear stories about people who are running out of toilet paper because y'all bought everything. You know what families you are. Like, we're in times of such great need, but I would argue that times of great need call for times of great selflessness. I think we have a really, really cool opportunity right now to practice what it means to give, to practice what it means to be selfless. And to be honest, I would argue that the greatest things we have to give right now, regardless of the crisis, actually, especially because of the crisis, that the greatest things that we have to give right now from our living rooms don't actually cost any money. I would argue the greatest things that we can give right now to practice selflessness cost 3 things. I think the first thing it costs is courage. I think it costs courage right now to ask questions. I think when we talk to friends, and I'm guilty of this as well, the first thing our brain is wired to do is to complain about everything going on in our world. I think it's really easy to complain about things that are happening right now. I think it costs courage to ask questions about how people are doing, to ask what they need, to ask about their day, to ask how they're feeling. I think it costs courage right now to ask questions. I think the second thing that selflessness requires is time. 3 years ago, I was in a really rough place because our family was battling something. My dad was in the middle of a very long battle with brain cancer. And about 3 years ago, he lost that battle. Before he left us, though, he was kind enough to leave me with a small gift. A little while before he passed away, he left me a voicemail on my phone. That voicemail is my most prized personal possession. Again, it literally comes in the form of just a message on my phone. I have that voicemail, that file saved every way modern technology possibly knows how. It's the greatest thing I possibly own, and from start to finish, it literally lasts 8 seconds. It's basically an 8-second message with my dad telling me that he loves me. Again, it's the greatest thing I own. I can't sell it. It's not worth a single dime. So I would argue that the greatest things that we have in life, the greatest things that we're given, oftentimes don't cost money, but I think they always cost time. And I think if there's one thing right now that we all have a lot of, it's time. I think we all have time to give freely right now. I think if you're sitting at home in your living room, I think if you're trying to figure out online classes, I think we all have at least a little bit of time to spare to reach out to people right now. I think time is something we all have, and if service, if practicing selflessness, if it costs courage and if it costs time, I think the third thing that it costs is compassion. Can we all have a moment right now and understand that so many people in this world are grieving loss right now? Some are grieving loss from the virus. Some of you watching this video are grieving the loss of events. California this week made the decision that they're not going back to school. Many states have already made that decision. Some states still might. I think it's okay to acknowledge and understand that we're going to grieve the cancellation and loss of events and experiences. Many graduations are canceled. Proms are canceled. Field trips canceled. There are so many events right now that are canceled, and I think it costs compassion for us to have understanding of that process, because it's very okay to grieve those moments. You know, I think that while so many events are canceled, I would argue though at the same time that there are a few things we can take solace in understanding aren't canceled right now. I don't think kindness is canceled. I don't think compassion, time, or courage are canceled. I don't think friendship is canceled. I don't think family is canceled. I don't think quality time is canceled. I don't think game nights are canceled. Please, I pray that Netflix doesn't get canceled. I think there are so many things that aren't canceled right now. I think they're some of the best things in this world. Years ago, I was in a parking lot and a man approached me asking for some spare change. And he reminded me in that moment that it wasn't what I gave that mattered, but that I gave that made all the difference. I think that regardless of our situation or the living room you're sitting in right now, I think you each have something to give. Again, times of great need call for times of great selflessness. I think there's work to be done right now. So let's get to it.
Scott, a longtime friend and a beautiful storyteller that reminds us it's not what we have to give, it's the fact that we give. He reminds us that we all have something to offer. And I think we frequently convince ourselves that to offer selflessness is going to require a ton of time and we don't have enough of it. But Scott argues, as I would, that sometimes the bigger cost is comfort, it's convenience, it is courage, it is our willingness to extend our vulnerability to give to others. Even something as simple or as small as an 8-second voice note that says, quick reminder, I love you. To close out today, a new friend in my life. Her name is Vayli. I've seen her perform a few times just in the digital space, but I can't wait to give her a big hug in person. And Vayli will end reminding us that each of us are worth the love.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vayli. I am a singer-songwriter from Los Angeles, and I am here videotaping in my living room. So I just wanted to thank Character Strong in Houston for letting me be a part of this. So I'm gonna share my message about selflessness. And I think it's a very timely topic for me to be talking about. I recently realized that for myself that I cannot be selfless if I don't know that I have value worth sharing. So I made a song about it and I hope you guys will like it. It's called Worth the Love. WTL for short.
Take me back
back to the start. Show me where it hurts. This must be the reason you've been trying to prove your worth. I've been in those same shoes before. I recognize the ache that I hear in your voice. Darling, the truth is, I still got issues. I needed to hear this, maybe you do too. You're worth the love, worth the love. Don't forget it, you're worth the love, worth the love. Don't deny it, it seems hard to believe, but it's easy to see. You've hidden all your flaws. Darling, the truth is, I still got issues. I needed to hear this, maybe you do too. You're worth the love, worth the love. Don't forget it, you're worth the love, worth the love. Don't deny it, it seems hard to believe, but it's easy to see. You're worth the love, you're worth the love. Don't forget it, don't deny it, don't you doubt it. Don't forget it, don't deny it, don't you doubt it. Don't forget it, don't deny it, don't you doubt it. Don't forget it, don't deny it, don't you doubt it. You're worth the love, worth the love. 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 It seems hard to believe, but it's easy to see. That you're worth the love. So, that is my message to you, and that is, you are worth the love. I needed to hear this. It's a constant reminder for myself, and I hope I helped you in one way or another. Yeah. My name is Vaily, that's V-E-A-L-Y. I thank you, Character Strong in Houston, and you for listening to my song and my message. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.
I love her so much. That is Vaily singing You Are Worth the Love. A profound reminder, a meaningful, necessary reminder that in order to give effectively to others, we first have to fill our own cup. We have to fill our own hearts and let that spill over into the goodness of others. Thank you for showing up today. I was so excited to share all these humans, all these voices, all these thoughts with you this morning. Many of them I know are reminders, new ways to look at old things. But please remember, this is a test. Will you be a Zach? Will you construct castles, or will you build bridges? Will you heal broken bones and nudge the universe towards love? doesn't matter what you give, it matters that you give, and a reminder that the biggest cost will be courage and comfort. That cost is high, but you and all of us are worth it. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being famous in my heart, and may you go give a little bit of help, even if it's just carrying some milk to someone else today. To close it out, because I just want you to know that this is available to you, I'm going to share my screen because some people don't know that this is a thing. I'm going to just share with you right here. We're going to characterstrong.com/free resources. If you go there and you sign up, you'll find a login to our curriculum site. And on that curriculum site, just so you know that it is available to you for free, when you sign up at characterstrong.com/free resources, you will find these. Go down to virtual assemblies, and each week's assembly is plugged in right here. So for example, kindness is up on the site. Every person's video is there, including lyrics or words. There's worksheets with activities. All of this is totally free and available at characterstrong.com/free resources. Please use it, share it with your friends, share it with people you care about. If you enjoyed today, just digitalassemblies.com. You can share that link with anyone to sign up, and we'll meet here again next week, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to talk about something brand new. Love you all very much. Have a beautiful day.